So, welcome to Always Real Talk, Atiba. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Kwame. Thank you so much for having
I've
me.
been following you. You used to be here in the studio with me, but now you're doing your wonderful, great things. But I've been always following you because I believe that all of us need to support each other in every measure that we possibly can. There's never enough voices speaking to the issues that affect our community. And I'm proud of the work that you're doing. I'm proud of the work that the podcast is doing, Chalkboard Conversations. I'm proud of the work that you're doing with Party Politics US and all of the energy that you've put behind this campaign that's currently going. I want to jump right into it. Ice Cube's been there. Everyone's talking about it. I mean, I think some people are talking about it because, they want to get viewers, they want to get eyeballs. Some people legitimately have issues with Ice Cube. Some people legitimately have issues with him meeting or with the Trump people or just talking about a black agenda to begin with. What about what Ice Cube is doing? What is he saying that's causing your skin to boil?
I'm not gonna say my skin is boiling, but I will say that I got heated because of the timing. The timing is inappropriate. I mean, and in fact, the fact that he even went so far as to say, well, he was able to see some of his contract with Black America and this so-called platinum plan that is on the Trump website. You don't make a deal with the devil and sell your soul out, knowing that when this election is over, they're not gonna fulfill that contract. Trump has a long-standing history of not fulfilling contracts and paying people. So why in the world would you think that he would do something with us, Black America, when his whole agenda has been racist toward us?
Okay, and so your point is about his timing. So if he would have done this a year ago, or would you still had an issue with it, or is it because the timing, like right now, this close to the election?
If he had waited until after the election, if he said then, he had to deal with the president, then that's one thing. But right now we're in the middle of an election where we're already fighting, saying that we didn't want this woman, Amy Coney Barrett, to be appointed to the Supreme Court because we have an election right here. So why would we then put this contract forward and think that, it's okay, or that we should be trying to deal or barter with someone who may not be president come January 20th, 2021?
Okay, well, some would say that, he actually put the contract with America out. He talked about it and he's been talking about it, and both campaigns contacted him. And both campaigns contacted him, and one campaign, which is the Biden campaign, contacted him and said, "Hey, we like this idea. Let's talk about it after the election." And the Trump campaign contacted him, someone from the Trump campaign, not Donald Trump himself, and said, "Hey, we like that. Can we talk about some of the things inside of this contract with Black America?" And do you think he should have just said no and just not been having a conversation about what Black America may want or may not want with any candidate at this time?
Kwame, you were the chair of the DC City Council. So you know this better than anyone, that the president, the governor, the mayor do not set public policy. They cannot make public policy. It is the Congress, it is the state legislature, it is the city council. They are the ones who pass policy. So if you're going to attempt to get something done like this, you have to go to the Congress of the United States. The House of Representatives is filled with Democrats who Ice Cube could have gone to talk to. But instead, I think that he made this a me issue. He put himself out in the forefront to talk about this issue. It is a divisive issue in the midst of a pandemic when this election is about saving lives and protecting families. This contract with Black America, it could have waited until after the election to have this conversation. And let's just be really clear. Ice Cube's business partner with his And3 league, he's partnered with someone who is best friends with Steve Bannon. So forgive me for not being in this election year someone who says, I just want you to vote. It matters who you vote for. It also matters who you align with. And if you don't believe me, let's watch and see what happens on November 4th when we hopefully have an outcome of this election and how much more divided this country is going to be. The contract with Black America will not be discussed if it is a Trump win in November.
Well, I want to, and I hear what you're saying, and I kind of understand to a certain degree what you're saying. Of course, we have difference of opinions when anyone that's talking about a contract with Black America and improving the lives of Black America. I support, right? Doesn't make a difference who you are. I mean, we could have had that conversation. If you think about it, Malcolm X met with the KKK, and so did Marcus Garvey, right? And I don't hear people calling them coons and calling him sellouts and everything else, right? Ice Cube did not reach out to the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign reached out to Ice Cube. The Biden campaign reached out to Ice Cube. Ice Cube then, and he was on Chris Cuomo, he was on CNN, and he said a lot of things that cleared it up. And even Chris Cuomo said, I didn't, see it from that perspective. I wanted you to clear it up. And he cleared it up. He said, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I don't support Donald Trump. He said, but when the campaign called me to ask me to share what's in the plan, I went and shared what's in the plan, which was his plan for Black America. So I went and I saw all the other podcasts, all the other folks talk about, whatever that is. Then I started to look at what's in this plan, right? I said, let me go read the plan too, because I want to know what is he talking to these candidates about. And I mean, he talked about federal funding. This is something that Senator Booker and Representative Presley talked about. And that talks about, $1,000 contribution, $46,000 over a year. They can buy a home, start a business, fund education. It talks about financial oversight. I mean, you look at a lot of these reforms are reforms that a lot of people in Congress have been talking about. Do you disagree with the reforms, or you just disagree with he should have never had a conversation with anyone in any campaign until the campaign was over?
I'm going to go back to what I said before. It's about the timing. Is this a conversation that needs to happen? Absolutely. Are the things that are in the contract fundamentally sound? I wouldn't say so. Are there things that should be part of a national conversation? I agree. But when we have that conversation, it should be very strategic, and who we have that conversation with should also be strategic. And when you look at where this is right now, we are 13 days from a national election that is literally about the lives of Americans. It's not about just the lives of Black America, though Black Americans are the ones who have been hit amongst the hardest in this country by COVID-19. It is not just about this contract with Black America. It is about the timing. It is about the strategy in terms of why and when this is talked about. You mentioned Malcolm X, you mentioned Marcus Garvey. Yes, they did have conversations with the KKK. And you know what? If you look back at history, historians all will say and note that those conversations were both, one, about separatists, about having a separate America. It was also something that ended up pushing progress that was being made back. And that's what this contract with Black America is doing. It's slowing down progress. We should not be talking about anything else right now, but making sure that the incumbent in this election, Mitch McConnell said in 2010, that their number one priority, this was in the midst of a recession, an economic recession, that their number one priority was to make sure that former President Barack Obama was a one-term president. Well, you know what? My focus right now is working to make sure that this president is a one-term president. And anything that derails that process is damaging and dangerous for this country.
Okay. And you believe that anyone having any conversation outside of talking to the Biden campaign or any Democrat about anything around Black people and Black agenda and Black America, and let me also be clear, we know that, look, we want America to be one. We want to have one America. I got that, right? But Black people are suffering. Black people always been suffering. And what gets me is that when, Sean Diddy Combs, talked about what are we going to get for our vote and saying, hey, you got to give us something. And what's the deal? Everyone jumped on his butt. Now everyone's jumping on Ice Cube saying, well, if President Trump wins, then it's the Black man's fault. And I just disagree with any Black person that says that if President Trump's win, it's the Black person's fault. Not saying you, but people are saying that.
Well, I'm gonna go and say this part.
Let me finish. The second point is, when George Bush and Cheney and his boys met with Biden and cut their deal, no one said anything, right? Of course, you think they're just supporting them and they're not getting anything? Do you think that all these Republicans are jumping on board because they just want to, have people love America? No, everyone, this is politics. Everyone has went to the campaign. They talked about the things that are important to them. Only when black people step up to the table and say, hey, this is what's important to us, everyone says, hey, you guys need to wait till after election. Oh, you guys be quiet, don't say anything. I just think that's wrong. That's all. And we could agree to disagree, but I'm just saying that at some point, and that's not derailing it, because I believe that what you're doing for voting, I believe that when people come out to vote, that they're going to go in that voting booth and they're going to vote for Joe Biden. But that does not necessarily mean that you can't ask for anything. I've been around long enough where people been asking and nobody been delivering.
Nothing about this is about derailing blacks. Nothing about what I'm saying is about telling blacks not to talk. You mentioned quite a few things there, but let's be clear. In 2016, 1.6 million African American men did not vote. Let's be clear about this. There were some swing states where there were African Americans that could have swayed the election in favor of Hillary Clinton by a mere 5 votes per precinct in that state. So getting out the vote is very important. The work that we're doing to hopefully inspire, engage, excite, but most of all, unite us around a common theme of voting. And yes, voting for Joe Biden for president. The fact that Joe Biden stands now to become a bridge between Black America, where he could possibly go down in history as the vice president to the first African American president, and the president with the first woman, the first Asian American woman, the first Black American woman on the ticket. This is a very historic moment. And so, yes, derailing the opportunity to have a vice president in Kamala Harris, who went to a historically Black college university, who understands the issues of the African American community. But yet, there are a lot of African American men, and there are a lot of people that don't want me to have this conversation, but I'm going to tell you like it is. Like John Lewis said, I'm going to pull it out from under the rug and make it plain to see. This is about Black male misogyny. We keep wanting to talk about racism, but we don't talk about the misogyny that was within our community. The fact that Black men had a hard time pulling themselves together to vote for a woman in 2016. So they became apathetic. Oh, I'm not going to vote for her. Oh, it doesn't matter. My vote don't count. This is the same thing. This is exactly what the other side wants. They want to suppress our vote. They want to suppress our voice. You want to get minimum wage done? You want to get all these other things, whether or not it's fixing the prison system, fixing the way that business is done in America, then vote. And after you vote, don't go home and wipe your hands and act as if everything is going to be okay. Being a part of a democracy means staying engaged in the process. That means working. That is what democracy is about. So this isn't, if you want to get a contract with Black America done, vote. Get people in office who are going to listen to you. Don't vote for people just because of a personality. Get to know what their record is. If you're quick to go read the contract with Black America, go and read what each one of those people that you're going to vote for, find out what their stances are, and then vote, and get your families to vote, and get your friends to vote. Because we can impact not just an election, we can impact public policy in this country for a long time to come if we remember how this feels and we do the work that's necessary moving forward. And that means staying engaged.
Well, then I appreciate you saying that, but it's very interesting that I have and for everyone that knows, Atiba and I go way back. We're really good friends. Respect him, respect his family. We just have a different opinion on this right here. And one of them happened, and I say different because I think we agree on the same thing. And the number one objective is to vote. The number one objective is to get out to the polls and vote. The number one objective is to get 10 people in your family to the polls and vote. A lot of people you can vote right now. Go to and vote. Get out and vote. But I want to step back and say, you can't, I'm not going to allow you to give the Black man stopped Hillary Clinton from becoming president of the United States.
No, there were a lot of
I mean,
other things that came in
that's
that,
that's
Kwame,
how. I'll let you finish.
1.6.
I'll let you
I know,
finish.
but
I'll let you
1.6
finish.
million,
I'll let you
1.6 million
finish.
African Americans not voting is a sign of disrespect to the men and women who marched across the Selma Bridge. It's a sign of disrespect to people like John Lewis and Fannie Lou Hamer and so many others who fought for us to have the right to vote.
And
So
and I
yes,
and I and
so
I and
yes,
I and I agree.
I
I
am going
agree
to be
with.
critical of our community because we can do better.
I can and it's and I can agree that we all need to vote, and more people need to vote, and everyone, especially a color or not a color, need to vote. But it wasn't the black man's fault that Hillary Clinton didn't get elected. If you are the first white woman running for president of the United States and you can't get majority of white women to support you, you or no one else is going to put that on the shoulders of black men as the reason why she lost that election. Period. And you can't convince me, and I probably can't convince you, but you have your opinion, I have my opinion. Hopefully this time the Democrats will focus on making sure that white women come out and vote for Joe Biden, right? And we would make sure that black people come out and vote, period. Because if black people come out and vote, it's very clear that they're going to go vote for Joe Biden. The number one objective is getting black people to the polls. The number one objective is getting America to the polls. The number one objective is if you do that, you can be successful. It's not talking down to people on, it's your fault that this didn't happen or this and that. That turns people off, right? That really does. They're like, whatever, dude. And then voting for people, I mean, I think everyone has to start to talk about the importance of voting and what you get out of it when you vote. I'm a believer. You can't change the sheriff if you don't vote. You can't change the DA if you don't vote. You can't change the council if you don't vote. You can't change the Congress if you don't vote. You can't change the Senate if you don't vote. You can't change the Board of Education if you don't vote. For all the things that you complain about, you have to go to the polls and you have to vote. That's how you create the change. If you don't like what's in there, you make the change, you vote to remove them, right? But at the same time, there has to be something done where people feel as though they also, when they vote, people they vote for are going to actually do something for them, period. And so a lot of people don't feel that way. So that's why people are, saying whatever they're saying now. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I respect what you're saying. I just disagree with blaming the black man for if Trump wins and
Hey, no,
Hillary lost and all that other stuff.
I didn't say that black men are the only ones who are responsible for Hillary losing. What I did say, though, is that these are the numbers. And so, like it or not, those are the facts. If you don't
But I
believe
didn't,
me,
I didn't,
you
I
can
didn't hear
do
you
your
saying.
own search on that.
But I didn't hear you
So,
say
hey,
white
listen,
women got to go vote for.
right now, you asked me to come on here to talk about a contract with Black America. So, in order to have a contract, you have to have two sides sign an agreement. And I hear a lot of black men who are talking about Ice Cube's plan, and if you're against Ice Cube's plan, you're against Black America. Well, I'm gonna say if you don't vote, you're against Black America. If you don't vote and stay engaged in this thing, after we vote and after we've done all this work, and now you want to come to the table, it doesn't work like that. So what we all have to do, in my opinion, is first vote. I'm not putting all the blame on black men. What I am saying is that we do have a misogyny, a sexism issue in America, and it's very prevalent in the black community. White men voted for Trump overwhelmingly in 2016. A lot of them voted saying, "Oh, well, she's a liar." A lot of them said, "Well, I can't." They bottom line was they couldn't vote for a woman. We keep talking about racism. We are not so quick to talk about sexism in this country. And I had a lot of people who talked to me, a lot of women who talked to me after the election in 2016. And they said, Atiba, she lost because she was a woman. And I was one of the ones who was out there saying, no, she didn't run a great campaign. No, she didn't. Yeah, there are a lot of things that Hillary could have done better. But she lost. She won the popular vote by 3 million votes. She lost the election by somewhere between 65 and 77,000 votes, depending on who you ask. That number could have been swayed simply by us getting out more people to vote. Is this all the responsibility of the black community? No. But we do recognize that we have a lot of issues within the black community. And so we can do better. And we will do better when we stay engaged in this process. This is not just about voting or voter registration. It's also about education. It's also about understanding this process. It's about understanding that the president, the mayor, the governor, they can only do but so much. And so, as you said before, we've got to vote down the ballot, and we've got to be engaged in this process. And we cannot let our foot off of the pedal. We recognized in April something that many of us have been saying for a long time, that this country has had its knee on our neck for a long time. I'm constantly thinking about not just George Floyd, but George Floyd's family. Constantly thinking about Breonna Taylor's family, Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland. The list goes on and on and on. But you know what? A lot of Black women have said this, and I'm going to say it too. We talk a lot about George Floyd, and it took a while before we really started talking about Breonna Taylor. There is a sexism problem in this country. And I do want to see justice occur in this country. But I also realize that when we keep throwing away our votes, or we don't cast our votes, that it hurts us. And the only way to fix that, or the best way to fix that, is to vote and then stay engaged after the vote to make sure that we hold those people accountable who we vote for to do what we want them to do. So for instance, the Congress, people talk about, well, Barack didn't do this, Barack didn't do that. Well, we went to vote in 2008 overwhelmingly for Barack as a country. But then in 2010, we didn't go back and vote and give him a Congress that could help him to pass the policy that he needed to get done. So guess what? He lost votes in the midterm. In 2012, some of us went back out and voted, not the same numbers in 2008. In 2014, he again lost seats, so he couldn't get policy done because our attention keeps being focused on these figureheads, the president, the governors, the mayors, and not enough attention on the Congress, the state legislators, and the city council members. That's where policy is made. That's where you change the laws. That's where you make it harder for judges to rule against you because they have to use the rule of law, the laws that are put there. That's why we vote.
Okay. Well, once again, let me just say there is a sexism problem in the United States. No question about it. Zero. No question. Me and my daughter, we discuss it all the time. We always are talking about, equality within the sex itself, and what that means and how do we improve it. And the best way to improve it is to talk about it. So I appreciate you continue to have that conversation. I had you on the show to just kind of talk about why you was irritated with Ice Cube, and it had to be with his timing and why he says it now. I didn't bring you on to defend his Black America plan, but I don't have any problem with any person, any American, black, white, brown, green, talking about how to improve the lives of Black America, right? Period. I think we should have that conversation, and it should be a serious conversation, whether it's now, whether it's later. But I tell you what, after the election, I'd love to have you back on, because the way I hear it from everyone that I listen to, as soon as this election's over, the racism will end. There will be no more police brutality. There will be everyone coming together. There will be equal economic parity. There will be an opportunity for the Black community and all communities to rise together. And I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to being part of that America, because there's so many people that are talking about that's exactly going to happen when we get Trump out of office. And I can't wait.
That's not going to happen. You and I both know that.
My father didn't see it. My grandfather didn't see it. No one's seen it. And I'm glad that we're going to see it when we finally get Trump out of office. And if that doesn't happen, it's going to be very interesting to see. I want to bring everyone back on the show, because everyone's saying, hey, as long as we wait, don't worry, it's all going to be great. We're going to get rid of everything. And so, because he's the problem, everything, we're going to get rid of it all. And I can't wait for that to be all. Let's talk about voting. You have a campaign, and that's to get people to vote. And I know that's a passion. And you laid out.
I'm sorry,
why.
I just want to go back to what you just said, though, Kwame. I'm sorry. I do want to. First off, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that racism, sexism is going to end with this election.
I didn't say you did.
I understand that, but I just want to say this. But what we do is we stop the direction of where we're going. And I'm going to say this again about Congressman Lewis. October 12th, 2000, I got a chance to sit in the office with John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, for a couple of hours and talk to him about the civil rights movement and his work and his efforts in it. And we lost a giant this year, but he left us with so much. And he gave an impassioned speech in the Congress. And he said, we're not going to go back. Well, this is what this election is about. It's about stopping us from moving in a wrong direction and turning us in a direction where we can affect change. President Obama, in his speech in Philadelphia, said, not only do we have to vote, but that change is slow. If anyone knows that, he would. And so we see change happening. We don't see it happen at the pace that we want to. So the reason why we vote is to quicken the pace so we get to a place where we can address systemic racism. But you can't change what's in a person's heart, but you can change the laws that keep you from being able to get things. I believe that's what Ice Cube says that he wants to do. I do, I know you want to move on to another segment, but I do question not just the timing. I question the whole purpose of doing all this when he did. But if he didn't bring this up, then we wouldn't have this conversation, and it is a conversation that needs to happen. But I also think that we need to also be thinking strategically, just the same way that they used direct action with the civil rights movement. They didn't just march, they did direct action to change the laws. And that's what we have to be working to look at, how we strategically are changing the laws.
Well, it's interesting, as you know, as a son of the civil rights movement, my father was very involved with SNCC. I've had an opportunity to be around, whether it's John Lewis, whether it's Cortland Cox, whether it's Stokely Carl, I can name them all, right? And I've had personal conversations. They know me, I know them, I got it, right? There 100%. Know the stories, know the backstories, know the stories behind the stories, know the stories that were supposed to be the stories that never became the stories. Got all of that. And I also remember very well that it was how so many of them were fighting so many people that looked like them to actually try to free them and free their mind. And they never stopped fighting, right? Every single step of the way, they never stopped fighting. And it had to be, different groups of people that brought different things to the table. And I even think John Lewis would also say that the same thing when he talked about his time with SNCC and when he talked about his time with Martin Luther King, right? Two different avenues, two different groups fighting for the same cause, sometimes using different methods to get there. You need that type of energy to create change when you talk about change for people of color or black people here in the United States, or just change for the country in general. So I got you. Ice Cube, I think, while I might say, hey, his timing was probably not right, what he's trying to do or what he's saying and what he's talking about, I agree with. I mean, I think his timing might be off, but the fact that people attack him, the fact that people attack Puffy, the fact that people call Ice Cube a rapper, right, which I think is totally disrespectful to call him just a rapper, because he is way more than a rapper. That's the issue that I start to say to myself, I think that's wrong, right? And to put it on his back and say, well, now Trump could win because Ice Cube. I think, and I'm not saying you, but that's what people are kind of talking about. And I just thought we put some clarity to it. Atiba, once again, my friend, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your views, your insights, your thoughts. So once again, my friend, thank you. Tell your family hello.
Same
if
here.
it's always real talk, it's going to be real.